Hello everybody, welcome to the Tribulation Institute. My name is Jeff Forster and I'm your host today and every day at the Tribulation Institute. What is today? Today is Monday, the 24th of January 2022. And for those of you who saw the last video of the beginning or the introduction to the series on the chart of the book of Revelation, and the end of the world, that's Satan's kingdom, and at the last trump, when Yahshua returns to set up his kingdom upon the earth, and until then, we're called to occupy and possess the land given to us, to our ancestor Abraham, a few thousand years ago. Hallelujah. Well, today, we're going to talk about the anatomy of a chart. And how this chart that you're looking at is going to help you navigate through the times you're in right now all the way to the end. Should it be Yah's will that you live, or I live into the end. Now, some of you may ask, well, how long, Jeff, you been doing this? I've been, since I graduated from Bible college in 1985. I've been on this pursuit, and especially since 1986, which I covered in the last video. December 31st, the World Institute of Cooperation, that didn't come about as planned, which was getting 50 million people around the earth to come together in prayer for the world so that we would evolve into peace. And if the 50 million people didn't come into it, which is the critical mass, that's at the point at which, an atom bomb blows up, critical mass. That critical mass of 50 million people, if they did not show up at that gathering all around the world at the same time, of which I went to the one at McNichols Arena in Denver, Colorado that night with a friend of mine. So anyway, make a long story short, 50 million people did not. So they said, well, the earth's going to go through cataclysms, upheavals, and so forth until the earth cleanses itself from the unwanted ones, the ones that is called the cleansing of Mother Earth, the ones that don't go along with the program. Does that kind of like remind you of today, where there are a group of people that are not even those different types of people within this group, of the two groups, the ones that do take the whatever and the ones that don't take, you know what I'm talking about. So we have that going on. We have these two divisions in the world, and it's going to get a whole lot worse. But nevertheless, so the cleansing is taking place, I do believe, and I do believe that we are in that first seal of the white horse that I know I promised I was going to talk about in this first video of these 15 videos concerning the seven seals, the seven troubles, and vials of about 15 minutes apiece. And then that would be the end. Hopefully I'll get this in before the gross darkness comes, which means the voice means the word of God, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. Okay, we're part of the bridegroom, the bride that the bridegroom, Yahshua, is coming back for. All right, nevertheless, so how did this start out? Well, like I said before, when I started out reading the book of Revelation, studying, it made it much easier. So if I would put a chart together, I thought. So I did. So all I did was up here, I started making little blocks to put the scriptures that I was reading into. In other words, the first description, chapter 6, talking about the white horse, the first seal. Then I put that in a square. And I did the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, until we get to the seventh one. And so I put them up there. And I came back later and color-coded them, which we'll get back into what these colors mean. Mean the white, the red, the black, and the green horse, and then the yellow, so forth, so on. So then we know, because the Bible tells us, that at the opening of the seventh seal is the first trumpet. And so we had the first trumpet, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, which is the last trumpet, which is where he said that when Yahshua's come back, at the last trump. Well, I don't know of any more trumpets after 7. There's 8. That's the last one. And we'll get into the significance of the trumpets and the vials. Okay, when we get over here. But anyway, so I put that up there first, and then I listed down the 7 trumpets, and I was going to list the 7 vials underneath the 7 trumpets, which is where most people think that they should be placed, meaning that after the 7th trumpet comes the first vial. It means another period of time, and that the total period of time between there and there is 3.5 years. Well, I got that right, but they would put each one of these into, I guess, 3 months, which I don't think they are. And I'm going to prove to you. So anyway, so when I started to do that, as I was reading the scripts, I go, you know, they look awfully similar to one another. First trumpet, hell and fire mingled with blood cast in the earth. The first vial poured out upon the earth and the earth. Noisome and grievous sores fell upon the men which had the mark of the beast and who worshipped his image. Worship his image is what? God. Okay. We're created an image of Elohim, of God. And Satan wants to bring about an image, of himself. Okay, nevertheless. So earth and earth. So the third of the trees are burned up. Hell and fire poured out. Grievous sores fell upon them with the mark of the beast and worse. So it's hard to mingle them together in that alone. But you got the earth and the earth. Well, next one you got the sea and the sea. Okay, rivers and the rivers, sun and the sun. So I go, well, there's something going on there. You know, earth and earth, sea and sea, rivers and rivers, sun and sun. Okay, and so you go, So after further study, before I put that down there, I go, you know, they're the same thing. I didn't know why I couldn't really explain it. Of course, I am now, and I'm going to, but I couldn't then. So I put these up there. You go, well, Jeff, what's this line down here? Because what you do is you go across there until you get the 7 seals, then you travel down and read them 2, and they're side by side, and it gets us down to the last trumpet and the last vial, which are also similar as we're going to see. Now you go, what's this down here? Well, those are in the chapter 14. Begin chapter 14, the book of Revelation. We have that, which are the 7 angels, and they say something. Make a long story short, I believe, as the chart will show, is that what is said, the 7 things that are said in the 14th chapter of the book of Revelation correspond to the seal above it. In other words, first angel, second seal, second angel, all the way down to the 7th and 7th. And you'll see that when you put all these together, it builds the picture of you when the rapture is right here. We'll get into all that later. So anyway, this is a 7-year chart of the book of Revelation, of which there is a beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns that rules. And during the last days, at the end of the kingdom, being at the 7th beast that has 7 heads, has 10 horns, and those 10 horns are of these 4 beasts that arise out of the war with Elam or Persia. Elam being Iran. That should raise a little bit of eyebrows right there, which it did to mine 20-something years ago. However, in it lists the first beast is the lion, is of the lion. Second beast is the bear. Third beast is the leopard. And the 4th and terrible beast, okay, it says, these 4 kingdoms arise, and they rule at the same time for 1 hour, or I believe 7 years, which means if we're in the 7 years, yeah, there's one ruling right now. And I'm going to tell you who I think it is, not in this later. Okay? So I put these down there. If I put it right there, then it means at the end of this one become this. No, because you'll see it belongs down here. And when you read them all the way across and get to the 7th one, you'll find where this 7th angel meets in this square down in the bottom right, which also where the 7th trumpet and the 7th vial meet. They all say the same thing. We're going to get into that. This is not like any chart you've ever seen. This chart's been out for a bit. On the internet, it's been out since the internet's started, when I can actually get this thing downloaded. But anyway, it started out as those up there, so I put it down here. So here's how you follow the chart. You start at the white horse, the first seal, you read it, then you drop down, and you read the end of it, which is the first angel, right? Then you go back up to the second seal, the red horse, read what it says. That's the beginning of that period of 6 months. And then you drop down here, which is the end of that period of 6 months. Then you go back up. You don't go that way. You go back up to the third. Okay, till you get to the seventh. These travel down, and you'll get to the seventh one there. It's an incredible chart. And all I'm doing is I'm just writing the words that are in those scriptures and just putting a block around it, putting in the sequence that the Bible gives, with the exception of putting, you can throw out Revelation chapter 14 if you want to, but it makes a whole lot of sense because it belongs down here. I mean, it won't take away from the chart if you don't, but it'll open up more things. You go, wow, you'll see how it flows. So that's how this chart was built, the chart of the 7-year tribulation. And I tell her how to follow the chart. And you go, well, what's in the center of this? Well, this chart, and I started teaching on this chart. I taught on it as early as 1998, before Y2K, thinking that possibly that could initiate that. Of course, we now know that it didn't. I was one of the ones that thought, I think we're getting scammed here, which means that the United States of America is lying to us. And he's putting a bunch of end-time prophets in a trick bag, which he did, and they lost their ministries as a consequence, predicting that Y2K. And I wrote about it and talked about it, and I was prepared, as I'm prepared right now. But I said, I think we're getting scammed, and this is not the end, not the beginning of the end. And it wasn't. So here we go. So in roughly 2009, 2010, then I put together what is, we're going to take these down, take the little, come back over here, fourth beast, and the beast of 7 heads and 10 horns. I'll put them over here out of sight, right there. And then I'm simply going to pull this away. Okay? You go, oh, wow, what's all that? Well, I put that together in 2010, put it in the chart, and put it on the internet, and put this sealed in what do you call it, sealed in plastic, so it can't be changed. It's the way that it was 10 years ago. And I just filled in with what scriptures I thought, or I perceived that would explain more of that one and this one. And I did that in 2010. And I did the same thing in each one of these put together, and that chart is in its full entirety here since 2010, which is what we're going to be looking at. I'm not sure how long we've been going here, 12 minutes here. I think I'm going to call this to an end. But anyway, no, I'm going to have to finish it real quick here. So what's the gist about this chart? Well, it's called twice speak. I believe that when you get past the first 4 chapters, the book of Revelation, when you get to chapter 5, or I think it's chapter 6, verse 2. Okay, it's where it starts. After it talks about the condition of the 7 churches, then it starts into the first seal. So I believe that from chapter 6 through chapter 13. All right. John was told to write down what he saw, what the angel was showing him. But he told him mysteriously in chapter 2, he says, you're going to prophesy again. Twice speak. Twice said, whatever how you want to say it is, but you're going to, so he did. And he, well, anyway, he's prophesied to us right now, again, to all nations. And so that again started in chapter 14 of the book of Revelation. And everything spoken of between chapter 14 and 19, because chapter 20 and 21, okay, talk about wrapping it up. But anyway, it says again, we're going to get into that. It says again what the angel had showed him he wrote the first time. And I'll show you that everything repeated, everything that was said in chapters 6 through 13 is repeated in chapters 14. Maybe not that you would necessarily see it, but I'm going to show it to you, and then you'll see it. So I'll give you an example. Chapter 7, which is in the first half, talks about the 144,000. Well, chapter 14 talks about the 144,000. And so on and so on. And we'll go over that beginning and the next time we meet. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, okay? like, subscribe, and share so we can get this to more people. Yes, I do believe, I'm going to get into it, okay, that we're in this red horse and what's going on around the earth right now, and a whole bunch of issues, especially the one with red communism, China, Russia, and what they're doing with their, quote, military exercises in response to Joe Biden's statement that a little incursion into Ukraine is okay. Anyway, they're spreading their armies out, China and Russia, in Iran, and they're fixing to get this ball of wax going, started here, which will get us into the black horse, which, according to my theory and thought, that remains to be proven, but it will prove itself true or not as we get into the next couple of months, because by the end of 1 year, that war, which means by the end of, by sometime, whenever the Passover is in March of this year, I'm not sure what date, then that 1 year will expire, which all of this stuff happens, or at least what it says there and at the bottom. What I've mixed in with that may or may not come true, but that's my explanation, further explanation. Anyway, thumbs up, like us, subscribe, and give us a little bell signal, and you'll know when I send this next one up. And you can let all your friends and neighbors and your relatives and everybody you know to get this information to find out where they're at in the scheme of this last 7 years that I believe has started. Go to my website, The Tribulation Is Here Now. Anyway, there's links, okay, in the description box. Click on it, go to the links to go to my chart, to go to this chart, to go to the table of contents, to do, go a lot of places. And don't forget to look at the playlist that I have, okay, on this YouTube channel, and go to Jefferson Forster YouTube channel. All the links are in the description box. Thank you. Have a great day. Y'all bless.